I've got that done.
This meeting is being recorded.
Great. So, are you able to share the screen with those photos? Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
gonna go get it right now.
Okay. Thank you, Shelley.
There we go. So there's. Can everyone see it right now? So this is what I thought was. But
wow, well, if that's your bra.
Well, you know, glasses, but yeah, if you think it looks like a bra, I see that too.
Are you single? I'd be surprised if you are single, if that's your bra.
Yeah.
When I saw it, there was someone sort of standing under it with their hands up in the air or by it, and it just the way there was the woman there with the celebration. That's why I thought that. But
that was my mom.
Okay.
So what is it? It looks like wings to me.
Yeah.
Wings?
Yeah. Well, the intention, what we did is we took hula hoops and we put fabric over it to kind of make it look like a pair of sunglasses. But I can see how it looks like a bra. I think
I love that.
That other image is a butterfly.
Yeah.
And
Here,
then
keep going through them. So there's the butterfly. Yeah.
You look like
a butterfly.
Yeah.
So
stunning.
And then there's a image of a kind of a head. Oh, we're going a little quickly. This is Jessica.
That's me playing flute.
Yeah.
Which one do you want me on? Do you want me to go back to the head with the sunglasses?
Head, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Then you just tell me what to move to. There we go.
Yeah. So this is so when you collaborate with others, so this is my boyfriend Ramneet and Jessica's mom. And they were helping us tie up the thing because we wanted to see what it would look like hung up in a tree. That was the idea, right? So then they were starting to help us, and then you know, people get ideas. They're like, oh, what if this? What about this? And then they just started creating the structure with the head and decorating it. So, you know, since it's collaborative, you know, just let them do what they want to do. So it's public art, right? Like when you do a residence, it's in a public place. We're in the botanical gardens, and the part of doing an artist residency is the engagement of the public. So, you know, part of what I was doing was asking for recycled materials. So one of the other photos, you see me sitting down and I'm sorting like
I know what that is.
It's a bit further.
Right here.
We sorted tent poles.
Yeah. So it's not tent. It's like a greenhouse gazebo structure like thing. Yeah. So a friend of mine donated that, and apparently some of the pieces are broken, but there's only like maybe one or two. So Jessica and I believe that we can attempt to see if it's still salvageable, and then use duct tape and maybe just have holes in it and patch it up with different fabric. We'll see what happens.
I have some ideas on how to replace the missing pieces and fix the broken pieces with wood. So I think we could probably do that possibly. Yeah. You never know.
So you know it was just the pink with the tree.
Butterfly?
The
no,
glasses.
Can you go back, Shelley?
Yeah.
I think it was the first picture that was there.
Yeah.
So at first I thought that was meant to be a bow. It's funny.
Oh yeah, I see that too. Yeah.
It's funny. Everybody sees something different. Huh?
Yeah. So in that, like, if you click on the album, like if you go exit out of there, and there's like an album called Botanical Gardens, I think.
Let me see if I can find it here.
Or maybe just scroll down a bit.
I know there's one called Botanical Gardens here somewhere. Here we are.
Yeah, just a bit further than that.
Oh, is it not? Okay, so it's not that one. Okay, just a sec.
No.
I shouldn't be in charge of the internet.
It's okay, just go back. Yeah. And then just go down. Yeah, just down a little. So this is almost.
More,
Almost getting closer.
No. Closer.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. Little down. Yeah, just a little further. There should be like Where's those white? There it is. There it is. Right
This
there.
one?
So these are
Okay.
these are the original glasses.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's what I found when I was looking.
Yeah. So you see, so we had like what are they called? Yeah, sorry about the video. What happens when you're at the end of the day, you're tired. The video comes again. But yeah, so we had the what are they called? Arms of the glasses. So it was a bit more clear there.
And we had sheer fabric, so it was more see-through. We just kind of took a couple of curtains and hooped them on, like put them onto the hula hoops and tried to make them look like glasses lenses. It was really cool.
Yeah, and while we were doing that, we discovered that the sheer flowed in the wind quite nicely. And then we don't have a picture of it, but tomorrow I will make sure to get some photos of that. It kind of looks, Jessica's mom thought it looked like a wind catcher. And I was like, a wind catcher? That's interesting. You know, like, so it-
Like
it-
a windsock
it
at the airport,
shows-
you mean? Oh, cool.
So Mom decided that we needed to hang it in trees. So I was like, okay. And we did.
And, you know, yeah. And then we thought, and Jessica and I thought, oh, well, we could also, we're doing this other project called Quiet Parade with the Nocturne Festival in Halifax. So basically it's like, I don't know if she talked about that, but essentially it's, okay, great. I won't repeat myself then. But essentially, yeah, we could use these hula hoops and wave them around in the parade, you know what I mean? Like, or walk around with these giant glasses, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's different ways of celebrating disability pride. So yeah, so that's part of it. So, and I like how in the beginning, or at least when I entered the call, sorry if I'm late, everybody, that you guys talked about trying to find like cheaper alternatives to things. Like the egg carton you mentioned and other materials, right? They're fishing wire or whatever. And it's like, that's, you know, one way of doing this is, you know, asking for donations, right? And asking them to drop it off at a particular place. Because I'm not, you know, like most of us are not going to go pick it up somewhere. It's not accessible for the most part. And I found this person who is a recycling company called Up Yours, and
Is there anything else with that, or is it just...
So what that person does is that they can, so what I asked them to do is look for particular things like hula hoops, tent parts, you know, whatever, and they'll go through it and, you know, dig up some salvageable materials and drop it off. And so far we've had a few things. So I guess when I get there tomorrow, we'll have some tents and more hula hoops and other things. Like I even said, like toys, you know, whatever, like it doesn't matter. We will try to make art.
Ysabelle, I have a massive, and when I say massive, I mean like probably 3 times the size of a regular tarp, but it's silver.
Oh, beautiful.
Do you have any need for that?
That sounds awesome. One of the ideas we had was a disability pride flag. Have you guys seen that before?
Yeah.
No.
It's like yeah, you can find a picture. It's essentially strips of colors, different colors, I think. I'm not good with color, but blue, green, gold, red, I don't know, a few of those.
But they're more pastel-y, right? I think.
Yeah, it's kind of pastel-y. And it's kind of like, is it like a swoosh?
Well, there's two. There's like a lightning bolt, and then there's like a there's like just the flag. Yeah, there
I've
seems
never
to be
seen the lightning bolt one before, but I just saw it.
Yeah. So I think that's what you mean by the swoosh.
I think the lightning bolt one is like older, and then the other one is newer.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, let me see if I can.
But essentially, each color represents a different disability type. So, for example, you got your sensory, your neurodiversity, you know, whatever. There's a place on the internet where it tells you each, you know, what each thing is, right? Physical or mental health, whatever. And, you know, I'd like to create some sort of piece of art with that. And we got little scraps of fabric. And I asked a friend of mine to sort them by, that's what I'm talking about there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So instead of having, you know, just painting it and making a flag, I thought it'd be a little bit more artsy and then use all the colors, because I've separated each color from the giant giant bag of donated scraps. So some of them have patterns on it. Some of them are kind of plain. I don't know if you have an image of that patchwork kind of painting we were doing. Yeah.
I have pictures. I just need to put them online. Give me a sec.
Yeah.
And I'll just here quickly, it says here, so the flag, the red is physical disabilities, the yellow is neurodivergent.
Yeah.
Or yellow or gold is neurodivergent. The white recognizes invisible and undiagnosed. The light blue is a psychiatric, and the green is for sensory.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it.
So was the gray color just the background, or did the gray mean something?
I think the background.
Shelly, Shelly's frozen. Shelly, if I would have known this before, I could have used each color in our Know My Disability campaign.
Yeah.
Like I could have done all the ones, the physical, I could have done in red. Well, no, red is not good. I avoid red. Not using red at all.
I'm sorry, I just want to pet your cat. I'm just distracted.
Which kitty?
I'll transfer you.
It's Muriel's cat. She's got a Sphinx.
Oh, sorry.
That's her.
She's annoying when I'm on the. Look at her, all curled up.
Yeah.
Oh my god, she's so cute.
And she keeps pulling at my shirt there.
Oh, balo. Me too.
Up there. She doesn't do that when I'm not on talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Usually more on a blanket. She's jealous when I talk to somebody.
Those animals.
Nova's in my room sunbathing at the moment.
You know, when I used to work for the helpline, one of the biggest things I've heard from many people was that their animals really help their mental health. Like they're like, oh, I don't know what I would do without my dog or cat or bird or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that was always something.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm already worried about when I'm gonna lose.
No.
This one here, like
yeah. And it's interesting because like some of us with disabilities have a different connection to our animals because they're like service animals, not like they're a pet, but also a service animal, which is an interesting dynamic, right?
Yeah.
I've experienced both.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I'm surprised that no one has fought it more, because the Human Rights Commission in New Brunswick has ruled that your emotional animal, as long as you have a paper from your doctor or from a therapist, a psychologist, saying that this animal is required for your mental health or for your to work with your disability, even if they're not officially trained, according to the New Brunswick Human Rights Commission, they cannot deny you the right to have that as a pet. Yet we know so many people that are denied residence or apartments because of their pets who are their emotional pets. Right. And I'm surprised that more people haven't tried to fight it.
Yeah, because the landlords they'll put it up first, right? They'll be like, oh, well, this is not a pet friendly apartment, therefore you shouldn't apply to live here. You know, that's how they kind of frame it.
We ran into an issue with the mini home park we're in, where we were looking at getting a service animal, and we had spoken with someone at the park office, and they basically were like, no, you're not allowed to have dogs over a certain height. And I did find out from the Human Rights Commission about the different rules and stuff, and that we should be allowed. But I think for a lot of people, it comes down to not wanting to risk your home.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these are people I know that had it like this issue 3, 4, 5 years ago, when the shoe was on the other foot, let's say, and there was more ability to sort of have control over the rental, right, as a renter. And
it's just not
because I know my mom has gone downhill since I had to take her cat for her since she moved into the Carlton. She doesn't have her cat. It's destroyed her.
Does her cat visit? Or I mean,
illegally.
Okay. Illegally. Oh man.
I didn't know if she was allowed to have the cat as a visitor.
but Lady Gaga makes some illegal visits.
Lady Gaga.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I put a link in chat. It's just to my Instagram. I threw up some photos of Ysabelle and I doing the fabric painting. If you guys want to take a peek.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. Ooh.
Yeah, so collage is an interesting kind of art medium. That's how my mom got back into art.
This fabric reminds me of like multicultural. Like I love it.
Could you put it up on the screen, like the
Sure.
so we can see? Yeah.
Or Shelly, if you don't mind, because you already have
Yeah,
power.
I got it right up here. Yeah, I can do it. And then
Thank you.
there. Boop. There you go.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah, so what I like about the so what the idea was is to put the colors, separate each color and do that disability flag, kind of like a patchwork like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that idea because it shows like the diversity of disability at the same time, or at least that's the metaphor that I was thinking.
Yes.
If you want to see the full project, you can scroll through the photos. Like there's like a little arrow that you can click right on the photo.
Oh yeah, there. Okay.
So the first photo is just me hand sewing because I figured I would just hand sew it. And then this is a different one.
Oh, I think there's only the 3, right? Yeah.
Yep, there's only 3.
One. Yeah. Okay.
How come I thought I seen Ysabelle?
Ysabelle's right there.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Ysabelle.
Okay.
This other one, that other painting, is that the fabric painting?
Yeah.
This is the fabric painting, the first 2, and the next one is also, we were putting it on the other canvas, so we either are making it a fabric painting or a flag. So that was the initial run.
The textile. Yeah, so these are 2 kind of different.
The one we put the slip in.
Yes. So this particular fabric art thing is each strip of fabric here has a different physical texture. So if you were to touch it, one of them's like felt, one of them's silk, one of them's like a rayon, you know what I mean? So
one of them's fleece.
Fleece, yeah. And one of the passersby, she was asking me, what are you doing? And I was saying, oh, I'm making a tactile painting. And I had like, I took my head that I had in the other picture and I had put glasses on it and I had a cane and you know what I mean? Like I tried to make it look, to show that I was doing disability art stuff. So anyway, she comes by and I explain, I'm doing this project with recycled materials. This is Material Dot. And I'm noticing that I'd like to make a tactile painting because I don't see very well. And I'd like, for people who can't see at all to experience the art. And then she said, my son has autism and he's like a sensory seeker. He loves that. And I never even thought about it. I'm like, oh, of course. Yeah. So it's like, once you kind of make something, it kind of expands through different, like, I'm not expressing myself. Yeah, like it's kind of like you add another layer. My first layer was like, oh, I want to make it look nice, right? And then I'm thinking, oh, what if I add touch to it, right? And then it's like, oh, what if, what will that touch do? Because we don't usually think about touch in art, right?
And that's a little bit about what creative process is about too, is like looking for those new ideas and like iterative refinement and like right, and like
schools, if they made one of these in every school to put into their sensory room, or the schools that do not have a sensory room in the resource room, like something like that could be tremendously helpful for a child that is struggling at the time with their autism. That sensory, just to have them be able to go up and touch that, it can be enough to just help bring them back. If they use the colors to bring them back to a green, if they're into a red, or so that they're feeling calmer and that they're able to continue on with their day.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, cause some people are the opposite. They don't want a lot of sensory stimulation, right. And that's what we're doing with the quiet parade. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like how can we, play with that concept? And one of the ideas I had before this residency that I just kind of, sometimes you just have an idea and you drop it because you're like, oh, I don't really have time to execute this. I don't know how to, work it out, or just something else comes along and you start working on something else. But one of the ideas I had was to create a kind of like a sensory room. So you know how sometimes you go into art galleries and the lights are dim and they have like a soft spotlight on things, and you know, and I always love that. Like for me, you know, being very light sensitive, like that's the most comfortable environment I could ever be in. Like I'm like, I love this so much, right?
Yeah.
I thought, okay, you know, I could do that, and then I could put, instead of a fabric painting, it would be like almost a wall. It would be like a giant like a carpet. You know how carpets can be hung up and you could go through it as a maze, kind of was my idea. And then I'm like, and then I was asking like that guy from Tangled Disability Arts in Ottawa, or Ontario, I should say. I think he's in Toronto. You know, what is this, has something like that been done? He's like, no. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's figure that out. And then I just never picked it up.
Like the old wall dividers that they used to use in the office in the 70s and 80s, and cover it with that. Oh, that would be cool.
And that would make my life easier, right? Because then I could just put it on the thing. And those things, you know, because of COVID and, you know, people working from home, maybe a lot of those things are getting, you know, rid of, and, you know, they need to be recycled, right? So I don't know. And I'm always curious to hear about, like, you know, this is just what I'm thinking of or what I'm doing, but I'm always curious, you know, when we talk about stuff like that, are there ideas that you have that you're like, I wonder if, you know, how would you represent your disability pride, or what do you think ableism would look like? You know what I mean? Like, these questions I don't tend to ask myself. I've only asked myself, you know, in the past year, you know, and I'm still trying to, like, it's not super clear what it would look like to me. Like sometimes I think about, oh, well, maybe I'll just do it. I want to show what my experience is to people who wouldn't know, like would have no idea, right? Like that film. Have you seen? It's called Talk. It was made in England. It's very, very short. It's like maybe a 2 or 7 minute clip, and it's this guy, and he walks around, and I don't know. It's like, you know, it's an imaginary thing. So he walks around, and the world is turned upside down. So everything is like when he's handed like a resume or a menu or a piece of paper, everything's in Braille. When he takes the bus is an accessible bus, and he's not allowed on as an able-bodied person. You know what I mean? Like everything, the world is accessible, and he's the odd one out.
Person out.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And then he'll go to a bar or a club or whatever, and everybody's staring at him. I'm like, oh, look, he's able-bodied, and they're all whispering, you know? It's just this funny thing. And I'm like, oh, wow, you know, that really, you know what I mean? Like that really communicated something, you know, that experience, that like, there's all kinds of these little experiences that we have. And it's like, okay, how can we put ourselves in a story? How can we, you know, share these things that happen, you know? So I don't know. These are the things. So one of the, like in the Quiet Parade, I think the question they asked, you know, what would a quiet parade look like? Because like Nocturne, I don't know if you know, but like these like night festivals, like the lights are blaring, the music is loud, you know, people are running around. There's like EDM music, and there's people throwing fire in the air, and you know what I mean? Like there's all, it's like it's like a nightlife,
it's a
right?
migraine trigger.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, like that would be like a nightmare, right? But it's supposed to be fun. So her question was, you know, it just started with a simple question. Sometimes it's like, how do I start, you know, my conceptual art making process? You just ask, what would it look like if I made a parade that was accessible for me? Or what would it look like, you know? And that's one way to kind of start, you know? I don't know.
That made me giggle a little because I was just picturing a bunch of high people just running down the road with butterfly wings on and stuff. And it's really quiet. Nobody's loud or anything.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, that's what Jessica was thinking about. Like she was thinking about, was it blowing bubbles
Yeah, like I was either gonna blow bubbles because they're, they don't really have smell as soap, right? So as long as we're mindful.
Bubbles give people with MCS chemical burns, just so you know. I have a
Okay.
huge one. Well, it depends. If you made them with a certain type of soap, so if you use like, and I can send you a list of different soap companies,
Yeah.
but not just like the regular bubbles you get, because I had some,
Okay.
and they use Dawn to make it because Dawn's so good for the environment. It's like Dawn's the most toxic product out there. And one got on my leg, and this was 2 years ago, and it still got a chemical burn on it.
Yeah.
2 years
Well,
later.
that's kind of what I was thinking of, was doing my own solution just so that I know exactly 100% what's in it and I'm in control of the chemicals, because we have to respect chemicals, right?
Yeah.
The
bubbles is a cool idea, though.
Thank you. If you would send me that list, I would be very appreciative. Because I am looking at doing my own solution. I'm kind of DIYing a lot of stuff right now. But yeah, so hopefully it'll be cool. We're also looking at like
butterfly wings, right?
You mentioned?
Yeah.
I wanted to do basically monarchs. I'm trying to keep costs down because I do not know what the budget they have is. So I'm trying to basically, the thing that I'm buying should do a couple pairs of wings, probably maybe 4, I don't know. So that way I can have basically everyone with the same costume, but have some contrast with some like different elements. Like I'm planning on doing like fascinators and stuff. And basically the big pieces are the wings, the fascinator. So like that fascinator is like a little hat that you wear. You'll see them at weddings a lot. They're like a fancy lady hat. You just kind of pin them in your hair, and they're like little, and they have like a lot of like tulle and stuff. Yes, see, like this. Exactly. See, this is what we're making, except it's gonna have feathers that look like antennae. So yeah, I was just gonna have everyone kind of have their own little contrast item, but we're all gonna have like just dress in black essentially, because that way I can focus on the bigger pieces in the costume. Yeah, I'm hoping we can basically dress as monarchs, just because it's really important to get people thinking about pollinators and stuff, because we're kind of losing our pollinators, and that's terrifying. And
monarchs just went on the endangered list too, right?
So absolutely, this is why I'm doing it. And so it's just like, you can be quiet, but you can make a statement at the same time. Right? So that was kind of my thing, and just finding something to do with our hands essentially that's quiet. That's the hard part. I'll probably explode by the end of the parade, because I'll be like not able to have the incessant chatter, but it'll be okay. I'm very excited. I think it's going to be quite fun, and I'm excited to see what else we come up with. I have some designs done. I'm learning a lot of new skills because I'm learning some fashion illustration and stuff right now, just so I can make really cool fashion illustrations to put with my proposal.
You could make little butterflies out of I always call them pipe cleaners, and hang them out along the way.
Oh, that would be cute.
Because we used to make them for Girl Guides and brownies, and they're really easy to do. You can make a couple out of one pipe.
Nice.
And hand them out along the way.
That's a good idea.
One of the ideas was to invite, like in Nova Scotia, they have a tandem bike club. And to invite them in the parade, right? Because it's a bike, it's pretty quiet, and maybe they could even lug things on the bike, have like a little wagon in the back, and you could hold art, you know what I mean? And it's like, and then I thought, okay, why couldn't we have this in New Brunswick? Like, New Brunswick has festivals and that. We could propose our own version of this and, do it ourselves, or just host it without a set festival. Just do it on our own time.
It's just working with the city and stuff.
Yeah.
Fredericton's getting better though, because I got on them about the fact that for Disability Awareness Week that there was zilch in Fredericton. I said, come on, it's and so they're like, you're right, and we have to do more next year. And I'm working with them. We're going to get some stuff put in. And again, like tomorrow, there's a big thing at the Ledge, right, for New Brunswick. It's not accessible.
Emancipation Day?
Randy's saying, oh, it's accessible, but it's not. There's a one sidewalk. That's the only thing that's accessible. You cannot put activities on the sidewalk. That's where people walk. The rest is grass. We saw with the Disability Awareness Picnic, that is not accessible for people in chairs. And maybe some people can do that, but I don't think it's safe for people in chairs. We saw that. I don't think it's fair for people with vision impairment to ask them to walk on that. That's lumpy. that's not right. And just, you may be comfortable with it as a person, but it doesn't mean it's accessible for all. And
Yep.
I don't think taxpayers' money should be used anymore to be paying for these big events that fit for everyone but people with disabilities. And then they do fireworks at night, which is bad for the environment and it's bad for people with any type of sensory deprivation.
Yeah,
It
so
drives
Yeah.
me nuts.
what we could do is propose an alternative to fireworks, because what's interesting, you know, is like, when is the fireworks typically? Canada Day. And Canada Day, we've learned recently, isn't you know,
Something to celebrate.
appropriate
Yeah.
anymore. And I mean, it never was. But more and more people are kind of being like, yeah, you know, I'm not comfortable celebrating this
Genocide.
particular thing. So
Yeah.
you know, so this would be an excellent thing to propose, you know, and especially since, you know, the environment is kind of pressing issue right
Yeah.
now as well.
Yep.
And so is
Exactly.
disability, right? Like, wow.
Yep.
Like, what plagues me is that we call it disability awareness. It's like, this is what makes me laugh. It's like, I think everybody's aware that disabilities exist, but they're not aware of the ableism we face. They're not aware of the accessibility barriers. They don't, you know what I mean? Like,
They're
all
aware that
this stuff.
disabilities exist when people are in wheelchairs or they're very visibly blind. They're not aware of the 70% of invisible disabilities. The bulk of society is still not aware of
Yes.
those, unfortunately.
They're not willing to acknowledge it. That's
Yes.
the
Yeah.
problem. They
Yes.
see it, but they don't want to acknowledge it at all.
Yep.
Well, disabilities haven't been in the public, like they haven't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
disabled people only got the right to vote, what, in the 90s? And to participate in the workplace. So it's still a relatively young thing. That's not an excuse, but it is kind of like, hey, we're still kind of new. So
Yeah.
because it was, disability was institutionalized for so long before that.
Yep.
And it still is in sometimes, and it's scary.
One thing for me though, with Shelley, like, I didn't realize there was so many invisible disabilities, so I've expanded my horizons and, you know, tried to really study that and bring more awareness to that when I'm having conversations with anybody, because I didn't know before I met Shelley.
Yeah, and it's like, what would a symbol look like? You know, how can
Yeah.
we make invisible disabilities visible? You know, like, what is it, through storytelling? Is it through documentary? Is it a comic book? Is it
Yeah.
a zine? You know what I mean? Like,
I liked the human library, that there is like a human library online. And our library has done a couple of those events, and I wonder if they would be doing them again. Just because it's different people. You basically check out a person, and they talk about their lived experience. So that is a really good way to do it, because if you don't know, you don't know, right? And it's stuff that we don't talk about. It's kind of, you know what I mean? Like, there are things that are taboo to talk about, if you know what I mean, and it's stuff that we should be talking about.
But it's like, to find the people who actually want to do that, because I mean, I feel like if I was being checked out over and over again, repeating myself, I'd be burned out by the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
That's
But
true.
I wonder if there's a way that you could do it in a video format, and even go further and have someone that's doing ASL in the video, even if it was after the fact, or subtitles.
I have a proposal into a grant to actually do that.
Okay.
I just am waiting to hear back. It's gone to jury here a couple weeks ago, so I haven't heard from them. So hopefully I will.
Yeah.
So you got a note that said it's gone to jury? That's great.
They emailed me and they said, is there anything that you want to send us more? Please send it now. And I was like, so I sent them a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, here's some more examples of work. So hopefully they were excited. So yeah, hopefully I hear back from them.
Well, that's
be an interesting project for NBCPD members to get involved with, NBCPD members, and do different libraries.
I have the plan drawn up, so even if this doesn't get funded, I do have the project planned out in its entirety, and it's a scalable project.
Yeah.
So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to
Yeah.
contact me. I'm
Yeah.
going to be
Even
working
like
on
for
that.
Disability Awareness Week, to have a couple like coffee sessions out and about where, like, I'm thinking like how Jordan, the poet in Fredericton, where you just go up and talk to him, tell him your story, and he writes a poem on you. And it could just be you come and talk to people and learn some more about disabilities.
I
That's a
love
good
that he
idea.
actually wrote a poem about you, Shelley.
What's
That's
that?
a really good idea.
I love that he wrote a poem about you too.
Oh, thanks. I actually reached out to him and said, "Oh my God, that sounds so cool, but I can't go because I'm housebound." And he says, "Well," he says, "that's a great thing about technology. I can call you, or we can Zoom, and I'll write a poem." And I was like, "Great,
Nice.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah, and that's one thing of disability culture, right? Like the Zoom meetings, the getting together online, the coming up with alternatives. Like
yeah,
we invented that.
yeah."
That's what
Yeah.
we're known for, you know?
I
Should
say
we-
over and over, you want to cure the problem with the hospitals, create boards and just fill it with persons with disabilities. We'd figure it out in no friggin' time, because this is what we have to do every day of life.
Because
Yeah.
we're the ones using it most frequently.
We're the ones that need it early on for diagnosis. We don't use it often. Once, if we're properly diagnosed early on and get the treatment and the care we need, we don't need the hospital systems. It's when they don't do what needs to be done early on, then we end up there.
That's true.
But if they let people who are used to thinking and working outside the box every friggin' day of life take care of some of this stuff, it would be solved in no time at all.
Have we
I
thought
agree.
about maybe doing like a podcast or something?
Yeah,
You mean
We're kicking around with it.
NBCPD?
It's just time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of work.
it's a
it
lot
is.
of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's down the line. It's in our long-term planning that we're working on. It's in like probably about 5 years in, once we get more solid on some other stuff.
so one thing that I want to talk about in this
Mm-hmm.
little meeting here was the concept of an access writer. Have you heard of that before?
No, what's that?
No. Okay. So I think it was developed in more so like the music industry and theater. But essentially, it's kind of a document that you make that you know, when you start an art project, or when you are involved with a group, say a theater, and you're going on tour, or you're, you know, it doesn't matter what it is. But essentially, it's like, these are the things that you need as a person with a disability. So for example, and it's pretty standardized in bigger cities that I've learned. So the reason I was late, actually, I was in Sackville at Sappy Fest, and Sappy Fest is kind of like like the Harvest Festival, but it's just a different style of music. So that's kind of the idea of what that is, okay? And they had an accessibility panel for artists, and the theme was accessibility, well-being, and care in the art industry. So I was paid to go there and speak about that topic with a few other people, and we talked about different, unfortunately it wasn't recorded, but we did talk about different strategies, and that thing came up, the access writer. So for the I was the only panelist in New Brunswick. The other ones were from like Manitoba, Yukon, Ontario, what have you. And then I think there was one girl from the US talking about different things. So what it is essentially a document that you would write up, and I will, sorry, I'm on my phone right now and it's hard for me to kind of look at links and talk to you at the same time, but I will send it afterwards. Okay. And there are examples, like if you Google access writer, there's examples of how to write one, and it's kind of useful because it's, so for me right now, I'm doing an artist in residency. The requirement is that I be there 6 hours a day and for 2 weeks straight and make art, right? And it has to, you know, relate to the theme that I proposed and relate to the garden somehow, right? So it's been a week now, and I'm very thankful for Jessica and other people that have helped me. And I was talking about that at the at the meeting, is that one of the things that I'm struggling with is my own kind of internalized ableism, my own, like, I need to do as much work as possible. And even Jessica kind of pointed out, like, you're not taking a break. And I'm like, nope, gotta keep working, you know. And we're like in the sun.
Yeah.
It's like 30 degrees out, and I'm like, you know, running around
Yep.
like a crazy person, feeling like I'm behind and I'm late and I need to rush and I need to do everything because I need to catch up because I'm, you know, I want to do a good job, right? It's I've done residencies before, but they've always been from home, and this is, you know, out in public. And, you know, if I was just at home, I would just take a break naturally. But because I'm out in public, for me to take a break, well, it's like an hour's walk one way. I'm not gonna go 2 hours, you know, back and forth and then come back another 2 hours back and forth. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. So I have to tough it out and do that. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, you know, and because I don't have an access rider and I didn't communicate my needs ahead of time, saying something like, I have chronic pain. I require, my body is, you know, has flexible, you know, it goes up and down, you know, and I understand that I need to be flexible with my time, you know, whatever, like, and also it's hard on me in the sense that I'm outside. It's bright outside.
Yeah.
I have light sensitivity. At the end of the day, like, I have a headache, like, I don't like being there. But do I say that to them? No, I hide it. And I pretend I'm just normal, right? And it's like, oh, and it's like, I read all this disability pride stuff, but I still have this inside me. I still think about this stuff, and I still act this way sometimes, right?
When we get in public, we want to try and prove that we can do so much, even though we have a disability. So we push ourselves 100 times harder than an able-bodied person ever has to try and prove. Whereas we're already probably doing as much, if not more, because we're going at it differently and in our own way.
Exactly.
And it's like, you know, it's a problem in the sense that, like, I'm creating a bigger problem here because I'm bringing, you know, I'm one of the only artists doing accessibility stuff out in public these days in around here. So I'm the only example. So I feel like I have to include more voices than just mine, right? I'm always trying to recruit more artists and say, you know, you too make art, you too show your voice. It's not just me here. You know, I can't be responsible for
everyone.
It's called masking.
You know?
What you're doing is masking.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. And I never thought about it that way, but I'm hiding it. I'm hiding all my barriers and pretending they don't exist. And they're like, well, clearly it's accessible because you're here and you're doing the residency. It's like, yes, but I'm suffering in silence. Like, when I get home at the end of the day, I'm sleeping the whole day. I'm not, you know, doing anything else. Like, I'm just living and breathing this residency. And then I was like, okay, this weekend, I'm like, okay, what if I did like a meditation in the park? What if I took a break? What if I made that part of my residency and be like, listen, this is a public place. It's a park. It's a relaxing place. There's flowers. Why don't I just lie down in the grass and invite other people to take a break? Because that's okay. And we're human beings. You don't have to do, you know what I mean?
Figure out the clouds. Figure out what they look like. That's art.
What's this? What are we being shown here?
This is one creating your own access rider, and it's one of them, and it says
perfect.
It's talking about disability and access riders and how to read on to find out how we do access riders and some links to other access rider guides, and there's all kinds of great stuff in here.
Yeah, so that's a new concept that I just learned this year, maybe a few months ago, and it's very popular in England, very popular in Ontario and Vancouver, it seems, and a few other places. But here, you know, I've never heard of it. Like, maybe it is. I just, you know, the places that I've been to haven't really seemed to know what it was.
I think plus, sorry,
go ahead.
I think as artists and just people in general who are doing projects, we need to start thinking of this stuff because, you know, we do need more breaks.
But like nobody else is gonna think it for us.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We need to start doing these types of documents because everybody just kind of assumes that if you're doing it, you can do it. And it's like,
exactly.
Sort of, right? And, sort of.
Yeah. And the thing about accessibility is like the more that we work together, the more that we realize this. Like if I'm like, I don't think if I would have noticed that if people, like if I wasn't there with other people, if I was just, I mean, yes, I would have noticed that I'm burnt out, but I would just blame myself. Like, oh, you know, whatever, you're just, But it's like, you know what? No, there are, I shouldn't, lower myself to say like, oh, I can't, it's like, no, these are the requirements. How can I make accommodations for myself? I haven't even thought about that. And it's important to think about that. Because I mean, this happens all the time. Like, one of the things in Tangled, I don't know if you guys follow, you folks follow Tangled at all, but one of the projects they did was called Undeliverable. So essentially, the project was about disability art and how we miss deadlines all the time because the projects weren't delivered on the time that they were supposed to be delivered. And that was the whole thing. So it was like empty walls with like, anyway, they have all these interesting concepts. And it's like, who are making the standards? It's, other people who are not us. So we have to create our own standard. And as creators, we are empowered to do that. And it's like, it's surprising that it's like, it doesn't come to my, or at least it didn't come to my mind to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the artist here. I'm in charge of the, how I'm organizing my time. I just need to do 6 hours. What if I did it a different way? What if I, like, how can I, and one of the ideas with the tent is to create a structure. I was thinking about, like, sorry, I'm talking really fast. I was talking about the built environment versus the natural environment. So I wanted to create an environment that was accessible to me. So I thought, I'll create a tent, like a dark space, like a cave inside the gardens, because it's a big bright area. Like, unless I'm in the shade, and even then the shade is still too bright for me most of the time.
And the little hut they gave you, I noticed, if you were in a wheelchair, would not be accessible.
I mean, there's lots of things that aren't. Yeah, I mean, we could make a list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
it might be one that I looked up that Undeliverable, to make one of Undeliverables of the government on accessibility promises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a big X and then a list of all the words or promises, empty promises.
So my computer's gonna die and I can't actually reach the cord, so I have to go. I'm
anyway,
sorry.
So we should let Ysabelle go, because you got to go do 6 more hours tomorrow. Are you on tomorrow?
I am on tomorrow. Yeah.
Off?
Yeah. I took Friday off. So.
Okay.
Are you going tomorrow? It's a stat holiday.
I know it's a stat holiday, but the gardens is still open, and I have a couple people meeting me tomorrow. So if I have help pitching up a tent, I will go and get help to pitch tent, because I'm not doing that alone.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you in the gardens, Ysabelle?
So that's another thing I want to talk about really quickly. So the gardens has actually 3 entrances, or 3 ways to get there. So I'm on the Cameron Court entrance, which is by Odell Park. Well, they're all by Odell Park, I should say.
It's on the Hanwell Hill.
It's on the Hanwell Hill, yeah. The other entrance, so when you Google Botanical Garden, what happens is it will bring you to the other entrance, which is by the ball field, which is very confusing and very far for where I'm actually am. So, but that entrance, the ball field entrance, does have a bus that you can access if you are able. And yeah, I mean, the gardens itself is fairly flat. Like Odell, of course, is quite hilly, but the gardens itself is pretty flat. There are some shaded areas. There's some beautiful flowers, gorgeous, like and like different art installations that aren't mine, that are lovely. And so I'll be there all week till Friday. And I guess we'll wrap it up. I'm sorry to be so late, but I am available, like I said, to do what we call office hours. So I did this with a few people now to help them work on their art CVs or a bio, or help with any documents or things like that. So to try to get you ready to apply for things like grants or even
You did.
just
Thank you.
a gallery. Sorry?
I said you helped me a lot. Thank you.
Oh, is that Leanne?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, Leanne's been doing applying for a couple things, haven't you?
Cool.
I applied for a grant for watercolor courses.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome.
Nice.
And then you put your stuff somewhere in a boutique, I heard too.
Yes, I'm going to be selling some of my art from my cousin's boutique in Shippigan.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, her boutique is called Deco Vault, and it's all antiques and secondhand stuff that's very like farm decor type of thing. So
Yeah.
I'll be putting a bunch of farm decor type paintings in there for her.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So I recently added Leanne to the Disability Art Collective page.
Cool.
So any of you who would like, you know, a little spot on the website, because I know it's pretty taxing to create a website. But essentially, I have like a photo, a little bio, and then some images of your artwork, and then a link or whatever art practice you do. It doesn't have to be artwork. I have some writers on there as well. To just know that you just create a network, right? So we can get together.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ysabelle. And I might pop, if I'm feeling okay tomorrow, I might pop down and drop you down that tarp. And
Great.
if I can find some rope, I can bring some rope, because we can certainly build a huge bloody lean-to with that. That would fit
What
like
now?
50 a lean-to. A lean-to
What's
is
a
when you use a
lean-to?
tarp and you attach it to trees, and it's like a gazebo, but you don't necessarily have your sides, but it covers.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. 22 years in Girl Guides. I can build you anything in the woods if my body wants to work. So.
What time are you headed down?
Pardon me?
I'm asking Ysabelle, what time are you headed to the garden? Sorry.
Probably like 11 by the time I get there. Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. Okay, well, everyone have a good night and a happy New Brunswick Day tomorrow. And
yeah, happy Emancipation Day as well.
Yes, I might go stand on the grass, the lawn of the legislature with my sign asking where the accessible events are. But we'll see.
Yeah. Of course, I think they would need a picture book called Accessibility for Dummies to understand.
We may have to write that book.
Picture book for
Speaking of accessibility for dummies, if you look at the I think it's like the Women's Institute, like the New Brunswick Women's Institute, like they do a report for the government every year. It's either I don't think they've done the report this year, but it would be last year's report. If you look at the report, it's very tongue-in-cheek in that they've used much simpler language, and they have much more pictures than previous reports from previous years. So if you would like an interesting read.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
Interesting. We'll look at that tonight too. And I don't know if everyone heard or if you saw the article in the paper about the gentleman from Fredericton that got hurt on the bike and they sent him home from the hospital after 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
I reached out to his wife, and he has been transferred to St. John Hospital. And I also, now that had nothing to do with it's because his parents are huge conservative supporters in Nova Scotia. Tim Houston, they called Houston because that's their MLA, and he's the premier, who called Higgs. That's why that happened. But you use what you know sometimes.
Yeah.
When they moved him to St. John, they found additional fractures and blood clots.
Oh,
so he was on his deathbed. Anyways, I did tell her that when he's finally able to go home safely, if she's running into any problems getting help with accessibility needs for her house, to reach out. And she's very happy that we're here and that we are willing to help out, because that broke my heart.
Yeah.
Motorcycle bike, broke a couple vertebrae in his back, broke his sternum, and they sent him home after 5 hours with Tylenol.
Oh,
well,
nice.
And
we have our own horror story that happened in the last month. Don't take your neck
brace off, because you might be paralyzed. And here's
Lord.
a phone number. Call the neurologist in St. John, but he's on holidays.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
We recently had our own scare like that. My husband had a seizure in his sleep, was unconscious for 6 minutes, called the ambulance. They came to get him, brought him to the hospital, was only there 3 hours. They did a blood test, and that was it. An EKG also, They checked his heart for heart attack and did a blood test and told him to eat bananas and sent him home. No x-rays, no nothing. Because he had fallen after the seizure. He had fallen after the seizure, and we're still waiting for the X-rays, and it's been over a month.
I was just in the hospital this weekend in ER, and I got like everything boom boom X-rays within like I was there.
Well, I'm in Bathurst, New Brunswick.
Yes.
What's that?
I'm in Bathurst, New Brunswick. It's the worst hospital around.
Okay, never mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got my X-rays done, and within like 20 minutes, I got results.
Not sure if we can see it's the worst anymore.
Did you see the article? I think it was through Ability New Brunswick sent, where there's going to be like accessible beaches. There was a bunch of money that the government threw to make.
We're working with Parks. The NBCBD is one of the workers with Parks New Brunswick for that. So last October, the government hired Brendan McClellan. I think I keep screwing up his last name.
I can't remember.
His job is to make all provincial parks accessible. So they're starting first with the document, which is looking at accessibility through all the lenses. He went back through and they did a review of all the provincial parks, and almost anything that they had up with signs deeming accessibility were torn down. Like they'd go build accessible washrooms, but the trail up to the washroom was crushed gravel. So they said that's not accessible washroom, and they took the sign off. They're starting with parking lots first to make sure that the parking lots are there and they're accessible, and they have accessible parking, and they have places for accessible buses to stop. And then from the parking lot, you can get to wherever safely on good routes, that there are accessible washrooms, that there are Moby mats at every beach. The only beach they won't be able to do it at is by St. John. New River, because the way the tide comes in, you cannot put out a Moby mat until mid-August, so it would only be there for a few weeks. But they've got engineers working on that to see if they can figure it out. And there's something up at Carleton, and then they're going to take all the trail routes in the province, like walking trails, and they're going to have them denoted with like a green, yellow, red, a black diamond, or a double diamond, the same way you do ski trails, which will indicate if there's any barriers on it, the whole shebang. And is to make everything way more accessible from all these different lenses, that they have accessible camp log cabins, the whole thing. And the parks will all be accessible within a matter. They're hoping 10 years.
10 years.
Wow. Yeah. It's a lot of work and a lot of money just to do the parking lots. And this is all the camps and everything. But the bulk of it, they're hoping within 3 to 4 years. Here's their biggest problem: transit to the parks.
Yeah.
Right?
But
so there's where the cities have to change.
One thing that the arts community has done, or like a practice that seems to be standardized, at least in the bigger cities in Canada here, is I think they call it access notes. Not sure the term, but essentially it's kind of like if you were to go to the theater, you would have like a little preamble. Like there would be a video that you could go on the website and would say something like, there's a bus that reaches this destination. There's a push door. You know what I mean? Like it says what is accessible about the venue, so you have an idea, instead of you like putting the onus on you to have to call to make sure, like they'll have like an accessibility sign in the washroom, but then they don't have a grab bar in the washroom. So it's technically, you know what I mean? Like, so if it has like these sorts of discrepancies, then the video will explain. So then you don't waste your time going to the event. You watch the video and then, you know what I mean? So those little things can be done quite easily. And that's something from the arts, you know what I mean? Like that's where that came from, which is cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We have to look at the best practices being done anywhere, and how can we apply them to other venues and other, there's no sense in recreating the wheel every time to try and pretend it's something you came up with, right? Let's beg, borrow, and share and steal as much as we can. Because it's all about getting accessibility.
In animation, it's called reuse and recolor.
Yep. So. Yeah. Okay, well, let's say goodnight then, and we'll share that, and someday in the future we'll be able to do this at a beach. Whoop whoop. All right, well, have a great night, everyone, and
thanks again, Ysabelle and Jessica.
Yeah, thank you both, and we'll talk to everyone soon. Bye.
All right, see ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Sal.